Hello, my name is Dr. Maya Byfield. My business is The Phenomenal STEMist. I'm so excited to be here in Orange County because it's where I live. I live in Apopka, Florida. And I decided to make this business because I saw a need for underrepresented students to be successful in STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, math. And the best way I can do that is just provide products for parents to prepare them, whether it's a book or online STEM camps or just video podcasting. My goal is to transform this community, especially those who are underrepresented. And the way to do that is to help parents understand their children's minds and basically develop them at different stages of their lives to be prepared for a successful STEM career. Thank you so much. That's why I'm here. Hello, 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 everyone. It is the phenomenal STEMist. I am so excited once again because I have such great guests on my show. Today I have Herb Joseph. Hey, Herb.
How's it going?
I'm doing well. Herb is a tech CEO. He's going to talk about what exactly he does a little later. I
Yeah.
just call him a technology CEO. How to become a technology CEO. But he has his bachelor's degree from the University of Alabama at Huntsville in information technology. This is like a conglomerate of computer sciences and business administration, etc. So he's going to really get into what he does. But once again, I really appreciate you for being here.
Oh, no problem. Happy to do it.
Absolutely. All right. So we'll just get right into it. I see a couple of people. Actually, before that, I got to do my homework.
Okay.
I got to do my homework. And my homework is listen, you guys, parents, friends, family, the book is here. I sold out my books and I got a new batch from Amazon. So if you want to come get it from me, signed copy, or you can go on Amazon. Hey, get that book, The Phenomenal STEMist, if you want your children to be successful in STEM and how to prepare them. And of course, you must subscribe to this YouTube channel. Um, Greet me. I see a couple of you, a few of you are joining. Tell me where you're joining from. And I'm sure if you have any questions, you feel free to ask Herb. So here's my first question. When did you fall in love with your discipline?
Yeah, that's actually an easy one because I know exactly when it happened.
Okay.
It was my last year of high school. So, like I said, many moons ago, graduated now. I graduated in 1991. That seems like forever now, but
Uh-huh.
1991, and I was at in an Adventist school, and they released or installed computers that year. My very last year at school is when I touched like my first computer,
And that was 1991, you said?
1991. So we
1991.
so we were behind. I think like the other schools, the public schools, they may have been a decade ahead of us because I think they had them from the 80s and all of this. So yeah, so we,
Definitely an Apple II. I remember my
yes,
dad
yes,
had an Apple II computer to the education system. He had gotten some kind of deals to get apples.
yeah.
That was like mid 80s.
Yes,
Yeah.
Macintosh been in the schools from then. You know,
Yeah.
that little. They didn't have a MacBook; they were still Macintosh, right?
Yeah.
So,
Not
so
even Apple II.
not, not even that was a Macintosh. So
Yeah.
they kind of rolled those out. I rolled them out at my school, and my teacher was like, "This is how it goes." And so everybody kind of, all the other students kind of jumped on and wanted to do word processing and want to do the spreadsheets and all of that. but he kind of showed us, here's a little screen where you could write a little computer program, right? And what
Yeah.
it was just you could program dots on a grid, right, to kind of show up where you want the dots to appear on the screen. And I said, okay, let me do a little tic-tac-toe game, right? And so I created the little grid and had little inputs and from the keyboard where people could say X in position one, position, I had all of this happening, and it was just extraordinary. Blew my mind that I
Yes.
can go from absolutely a blank page with nothing there and create something that people can actually use. And I was like, oh no, this is absolutely what I wanted to do.
Wow. So you said you were just is your last year of elementary or
Last year of high
middle?
school.
High
High
school.
school, yes. Last
Wow.
year of high
You know
school.
what that tells me, Herb?
What's that?
It's not too late.
No, 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 no,
That's what it tells me. You
no.
were 18. You're
I
17,
was
16. You know,
17, 18 years old, absolutely. And I had absolutely no
no
clue what I wanted
experience.
to do. And so
Yeah.
it just kind of rolled right in at that moment. But I was ready for it, right? Because as I look back, I was like, I've always had a kind of a what I call, an abstract mind, right? And so things that are and software development, a lot of things are kind of abstracted out from reality, like several steps away, right? Like for example, I could make an app. Let's say I'm collecting student information. I'd have an object called students, and I'll store all the student information. What year, what grade, all of this stuff. That's an abstraction, right? I'm not actually storing physical students. I'm
Students.
storing references.
Info.
Yes, information that could. So when I'm thinking about software development, my mind already is in that space, right? And so it's abstracted out. So when I saw that the space existed where I can create things in that way, I was ready. I was ready, and I took that and I started school, and I went immediately into computer science, and I absolutely hated it because
Wow. Look at that. So you went to college and majored in computer science and hated it.
I hated it because what I hated about it was even though the levels of abstraction was a little too great, right? I'm now doing theoretical math, and I'm like, I don't ever really need to put anything in orbit. I'm not an engineer, right? When I do something, I'd like the people that I know, the people that are around me, to kind of benefit from it.
Impacted. Yep.
Yes, immediately,
Yep.
immediate. So then I always loved business. I was always interested in business. And when somebody told me, look, you can just kind of make these systems and and allow businesses to do things in a more efficient way, that just grabbed me. And so I switched from computer science and went to information technology, and I really never looked back. Never looked back.
Okay, please. So make it plain again. What's the
Yeah.
difference between computer? I like how you broke that down. The difference between computer. Let me make see if I understand.
Yeah.
The difference between computer science and information technology is computer science is the basic science of how these principles are created, how programs are created, and their abstract and development, while information technology is more the practical side. You take that information and use it for business use. Is that the difference? Or
Almost.
almost? Okay.
Yeah. For example,
Hmm.
if you are in computer science, right, you are very focused on things that are a different level. Information technology, informational science, we both write code, right? We
Right.
will both write code, but a computer scientist is writing it for a different level, at a different for a different purpose.
Purpose.
Yeah, the purpose, I think it's what is where it's different, right? So if I'm going to create, for example, I wouldn't. If you are interested in building apps and building websites and building things of that nature, I'm when I'm interviewing people and if I'm looking for example, let me back up for a minute. One of the things we would do is we would create systems for businesses to kind of share information with each other, right?
Hmm.
Let's say, you know, I'll say about 10 years ago, the entire world was still paper based, right? And you have all of these papers flying around. And now we're saying, look, let us pull together a system where we can do all of this electronically with the document,
Electronically.
yeah, electronic documents. I am looking for an IT person, an IS person, because that's a different level. If I am saying, look, I'm trying to build a robot, right? And
Mm.
I need you to interact with the circuitry of that. I need you to write software to interact with the circuits on that robot. I'm looking for it. I'm looking
Computer
for
scientist.
it's just a different purpose. I'm a different level. Um,
Got it.
yeah, it almost goes. I almost try to think about it. How people centric are you, right? If you're very people centric, if you're extremely people centric, none of these fields are for you. But it's a sliding scale, right? If you're
Mhm.
now kind of saying, look, um, I want people to kind of grab a lot of information, a lot of use off of the system. So I now have to interact with users to figure out how the users will enjoy or how the program will best fit the users. Man, that is a lot of people, right? That's
Yeah.
a lot of people, a lot of processes. Computer science, man, I just want to deal with ones and zeros, and I'm, I'm building machines. Those people who, if you go to, like the other day, I was at Spirit. I was catching a flight, and we got our baggage, and we're just putting our bags. It's all automated now. I put
Mhm.
my baggage on. It wasn't checked by anybody. The entire time I was there, I didn't speak to a human. Computer science
Scientists created those kind of
kind of
machines.
work on that, absolutely. And
Got it.
that's where I make the difference. And I'm
I
sure as you go through the field, people are going to have different. They're going to split it at different places, but that's where I'm comfortable putting that split.
got you, got you, got you, got you. Yeah, I'm thinking about the first time enter. You know, we're talking about how Herb fell in love with his discipline, and
Yeah,
it was in multiple stages. It sounds like it's like when he first saw the computer and started to work with it, he's like, "Ah, this is for me." But then when he got to college and he majored into one side of technology, it was like, ah, this
absolutely.
one is not for me.
All right,
But this side of computers is for me. I So
absolutely.
you had to figure it out,
I had to.
and that's okay. It's okay when you figure it out, but when you figure it out, you move with it. That's what it sounds like.
That's
Love
it.
it, love it.
That's it.
Um, yeah, the first time I got in touch with a computer, I was in elementary school,
Good
and
for
then
you.
yeah, I was a little earlier than you. But like the first time I got my own computer, even my dad got a computer because he got access to it. But like when I remember having like one in my room and I'm using it, it's the Windows 95. So I was in high school when I had
Yeah.
my own personal computer. Okay, number two. Those of you who are watching, when did you first touch a computer? I think this is very critical, like because this is recent times. You know,
Yeah.
personal computers is within our lifetime. When was the first time you touched a computer, guys? Just put it in the chat. All right, number two. What tools did you use to discipline yourself to succeed in school? So you have a bachelor's degree in information systems from UAH.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. What tools did you use?
Man, tools. I thought about this question. I'm thinking about it, and it's got to be a love for it, man. I just can't really. I never I don't think about discipline in terms of sitting down and forcing myself to kind of do something, right? I like to think about instead of discipline, I like to think about things like passion and a want
Mm.
to, and no one has have to tell me to go and write some code. I love it. I sit down and I come, the professors, for example, was in school. They said, look, solve this problem, write in some software. I mean, I was like, why did you only give me one problem? Right? Let me just do this all day long. I remember when I got my first job and I thought to myself, they are paying me to write code. I couldn't believe it. It blew my mind. It's like I could do this for a living. So I loved it, and just always kept learning. That's the next thing. You gotta keep on moving. It's always something changing. You can always get a little bit better, and so I was always kind of focused on how do I get a little bit better every day, every week, just a little bit. It just moved the needle a little bit. So I think that the main tool is the passion, and
Passion.
just didn't stay stagnant. Just don't want to stay stagnant.
Love it. So you're like, I love it. So a lot of people, if you're struggling to do well in your field, you may have to ask yourself, do you really have a passion for this thing? Do you really love it? But let me throw a curveball at you, because I see it a lot in techies. What about the stuff that you didn't love? Like for me, I did not love art appreciation. Like, how did you discipline yourself to succeed in college in general? Just to get a bachelor's degree, you have to get more than your specific
More than it, yeah,
field.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. There's art appreciation, and there is English, and all of these other things. Um, no, I kind of see everything as one, right? So
Yeah.
and it's hard for me yeah, it's hard for me to split it up. Like,
It's a
how do
means to an end. Like if I want to get my degree in computer sciences, I gotta do English what?
I got to do English one? I got
Yeah.
to. And not only that, not only do I have to do English one, it's like, what benefit is it to sit down and write code and I can't communicate what I just did?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so even when I'm hiring people, it's how are your writing skills? Can you
Mhm.
sit down, compose an email? Because I got to write a help document because the users
Mm.
need to know what's going to happen. So
Gotta do.
all of it kind of, I cannot think of a single class, no, honestly, where I sat back and said, this is a waste of time, right? Because
Mm.
all of it is needed to kind of get stuff done. So if I have like an intro to psychology or social studies and all of these things, I mean, a user interface, to write a user interface is a study in human behavior, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
you know, you know,
But what will they do? What
yeah,
will they
what
think?
they do, yeah. And to this day, if something has happened so a user is having an issue, I'm always like, oh, that problem that user having is they're using the system in a way that the system didn't anticipate. So you got to kind of figure people out. So yeah, it's all in one, I thought. So to discipline is just, I just I made sure that I could find something that connected to what I love doing. And I
Got
just kind
you.
of made that, put it together. And if I could see that I'm not wasting my time, then it's easy to keep the passion going.
Got you. You did whatever it takes to have an internal motivation
Yes,
to
that's
to
true.
to put you got some people, some students want the professors
No,
to externally motivate you. And
yeah,
my friends, you may find a gem that's like that, but
hmm,
in life,
no,
that's not what it's about. So first you really got to love what you do so that you can have the fire and the passion and to internally motivate yourself to push through that. I mean, this is very critical for success, for finishing, for completion. This kind of attitude, Herb, you can start college with all kinds of reasons and all kinds of disciplines, but to finish, you got to have that for sure. Yeah, yeah. All right, next question. What were your challenges in school?
hmm. I was as you could imagine from what I'm saying, I was a decent student, right? I was an
Yeah.
okay student. So my big challenges in school, yeah, would be around the social parts of it, right? And
Hmm.
which turns out to be super important, right? Like I'm going to an event even now. networking is super important, right? Understanding how to, man, I've been with some people that understand how to work a room. I don't want to say work a room. They would walk into the room and they will say immediately, these are the important people in here, because they can walk in the room and they can
Mhm.
see that the room kind of revolves around a couple different people
Yeah.
without knowing anybody in the room, and they could
Sure.
they could identify that. And I was just kind of always oblivious to that. Who's in? I was just kind of oblivious to that. Like, I didn't understand a lot of it. Like, for example, at UAH, right? I had to do they give a student intake interview, and I'm not really processing that they're doing this interview. I'm going to live in the dorms. They're trying to figure out how to place me.
Place you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so they're giving me an interview. And so it's like, what type of music do you like? Do you like rap? Do you like hip hop? Like, no, I don't like any of that stuff. I like a little bit of classical. I like a little, so I'll put that down. Then they'll say, okay, what kind of hours do you? Well, I'm a morning person. I do things in this way. And so by the time after I get through the entire thing, they placed me with some people that was just, I mean, it was a culture shock. I was like, look, and then I thought back, it's like, oh,
Oh, that's why they were asking me that.
hey, yeah. So so now if I put them together, it's like, no, I do like a little hip hop. No, I like a hip hop a little bit. No, because the opposite is that's exactly what I don't like. So I was playing
Yeah.
with people that I didn't get with. So the social parts of it was, I just I to this day I don't understand the schmoozing. I don't understand the butt kissing. I don't understand all of it. That's a struggle for me to this day.
Yeah.
And so I'm using them in saying them in very negative connotation, but a more positive way to say that is I would struggle to make the right connections,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
understand.
and that is needed. So that's the part that were challenging for me in school, and frankly, to this day, it's still still the challenge.
You know,
Me-
a lot of the times, the challenge that I have in school, or even other people who I interview that they have in school, is a continual challenge, even to this day. It's so
yeah,
true.
yeah. School is,
Yeah.
I mean, school is just this little microcosm for life. It's gonna keep going, right? So yeah, that's
I mean, look at you though. Look, at you know, even though you have it, you're live on Facebook, live on
live
YouTube.
on I'm live on Facebook. And who knows where this is gonna go, right?
Yeah, yeah. So you come out your comfort zone, and that's awesome. So yeah, so your challenges basically were you did good in school, but the connections, and you went to a PWI, you went to University of Alabama at Huntsville. You didn't go to across the street or whatever, a HBCU. So that could have been and that's good. I'm glad that you went. I'm just saying that could also be something that many other African Americans face,
Yeah.
that decide to go instead of to HBCU, and they get past affirmative action being killed off. Shout out to the Supreme Court. Anyway, I digress, right? And they go to a predominantly white institution. They're going to have to learn how to connect with people. And a lot of times they're totally different cultures, totally different than who they are.
Completely different culture, right?
Completely.
And now that you mention that, I was fortunate in that, Oakwood was right down the road.
Around the corner.
And
Yeah.
to this day, people still think I graduated from Oakwood because
Yeah.
I was always there. That- I was always there. So that's it.
I mean, and I've talked to, this is a good segue. I've spoken to quite a bit of students that went to PWI. So just to remind you, those my audience that don't know the different lingo, HBCU stands for Historically Black College and University. PWI stands for Predominantly White Institutions. But I don't have a problem with our students. I graduated from a HBCU, Oakwood University, but many students may want to go to a PWI. What I suggest, however, because I've seen it not just with her, but with lots of people I speak to, go to a PWI that has an HBCU in the vicinity.
Do
You know
that.
what I'm saying? Because you sometimes you need that. I didn't when I left Oakwood and went to graduate school, which is a PWI, Albert Einstein College of Medicine. I went home. I went to New York. So even though there wasn't a PWI around, I had my church. I had my mother. I had a safety net. I, it's very, 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 very important, especially for people in STEM, because on top of that, in your career you may not see a lot of people like you, and it could be a social situation.
I'm not going to run into a lot of black software developers just
Right.
because it didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I have you here, because this program is really so you can shine a light on your field so that people can see. Listen, there are black software developers, etc. You can be that even when it gets challenging, even when it gets hard. There's somebody that looks like you in this field. All
Yeah.
right, so
Well,
so
before we move on up with the
mhm,
HBCUs, I'll say, so I'm originally from the Caribbean, right?
mhm,
And
mhm.
moving here as a transition I've made, evolution, I'll say, into how I felt about HBCUs when I first got here to where I am now. Right when I first got here, I didn't understand the need for them. Like, why do you have the school separated? Right, just everybody goes to whatever school. And now, after being in this for a little bit, I'm like, now my daughter is going to school. She's ended up at Southern now
Okay.
because that's was her major focus. She does um, animation, and at her
Wow, your daughter is in college. Oh my God.
not only she's in college, she's finishing her fourth year.
What?
She's going into her fourth year when she goes back. Yes, unbelievable, unbelievable. So she went to Southern, but even then, I was like, man, I wish you can go to Oakwood. I just really wish, because that being around people who look like you, act like you, and understand you does a lot. Number one, it
Yeah.
removes a lot of the obstacles. Like when I went to UAH, a lot of a couple of the black students they will mention this professor doesn't like me because the color of my skin,
Yeah.
and I had a great relationship with that professor, and I couldn't speak to that person's relationship or that
Issue.
person's experience, but I came to realize that sometimes there's a little bit of a misunderstanding every now and then
Yeah.
between here is the level I need to be performing at, and I'm not quite getting to that level, and I'm not really seeing that it's because of that, and it may not be the color of my skin. And when you are at these schools where you kind of take that away, then you just leave from there knowing here's the level I need to be at, here's what the performance level needs to be, and if I leave doing that, no matter where I am, I should be okay.
I'm excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot there's an issue that many of us have that deal with of insecurity,
Hmm.
as well as microaggressions coming from the professors. And a lot of the times they're there, even if it's not necessarily to all people of color. It's there. There's a dynamic there.
Yeah,
It's a
it,
real dynamic
real,
there.
and it's very real, and it's hard to always pinpoint. And
Point it.
so man, if I can just remove that component completely and just say, look, I'm dealing with people that look like me, that operate like me, then I understand that where I need to be. It's a little bit
Yeah,
easier to navigate.
there's great value in it. Definitely at the college level.
Definitely.
All right. So what are your challenges now? You say it's similar. What are your challenges now? First of all, tell me what you do. Like on
Yeah,
a tip, so to explain to the people exactly what a technology CEO. You run your own company, obviously.
yeah,
What do you do on a typical day? And then tell me what your challenges are on that.
yeah. So typical day. Man, okay, it's a lot. I mean, it could be a lot. It could be a lot of things, right? So what I do primarily right now, where I've kind of landed, is we resell and implement and customize business applications, right?
Okay.
And everybody has used the business application, but have just been on the opposite side of it as a consumer, right? So you go to Walmart, Walmart has business applications installed. You at the checkout, so you purchase a bottle of milk. Someone has to tell the warehouse that there's one less bottle of milk on the shelf,
Okay.
right? And that
Okay.
one less bottle of milk. And now when we get to we have just sold 20 today. Now there's a cutoff. When I get to 100, I need to put in an order to the farm to send that milk, because we know from the system that it takes about 3 days for a package of milk to get here. And so now when it gets here, how do I stock it? How do I put it on the shelf? And how do I know I'm making money after all of this, right? So that's the kind of and that's information technology, right?
It's doing all the calculation. It's making all those
All of this little things in the back,
decisions undercover.
all of
Yeah.
it
Wow.
happening in the back. And so not every so if I install one of these systems into and I kind of specialize in the software for the mid company. So mid company would be for anywhere from like $4 to $30 million revenue, right? Let's just yeah, mid revenue kind of companies. So not the Fortune 500. I'm not there. I'm working with in the middle right there. And so when I install one of these things, they're going to say, well, we have this particular use, and this software, even though it does 90% of what we do, that little 10%, we need software we need to be customized. So I write software to customize the application
What they need.
that they need, right? So for example, the software might, if you put in a sales order, it will send, let's say out of the box, it will send an email to the inventory person, say, look, it's almost time to order. Then they may say, well, we don't want an email to go out. We actually want a text message to go out. Then I say, okay, cool, no problem. I'll go in there, configure, write some code to send an SMS message instead of an email. So that's an example. And so from a day to day, what I do is I do too much. No, seriously, I need to take anyway. I need to take a step back. It's a lot. So
it's a lot, yeah.
So I would work on. I spend some of my time on the sales side, right? Because the salesperson is going to say, "Look, I am doing the best I can, but they need some reassurance from somebody." And so I'll get on the call and kind of reassure we're the right person for you. I lay them on the couch and I kind of talk them through the process, make them feel comfortable, and then move on from there. And then the people on the implementation team would be like, well, we kind of have this issue with we got the customer, and the customer needs some help. And then I'll kind of make that customer feel comfortable. And then somebody on the software development side,
yeah,
I will say, look, we got to put together this architecture for this customization. I can't really figure it out. And then I'll kind of diagram the whole thing, draw the whole thing up, write it up, and let them have it. And then of course I gotta watch the books, the accounting side of it, because we gotta know if we're making money. So it can be challenging. Yeah. For sure.
Wow. So listen. So running a company
Oh my goodness.
is hard work.
Right.
One of my friends said entrepreneurship is like what did he say? I forgot what he said. He said it's like, I can't remember, but it's like going to the dentist, or I don't remember. But everybody thinks it's hip. Everybody says you got to do it until you really get into it. You realize, this is hard work. So what I'm hearing from you is, so you run a technology company in the context of creating systems for mid-level companies. And so you have people who work for you, and you have multifaceted levels of your business, and you find yourself having to help out in every point.
Piece of it, yeah.
Wow.
Every piece of it. So
Wow.
eventually we get to the spot where, I could find, another me in every one of these departments, and I don't have to get involved with all of it. And to tell you the truth, I feel like that's the little bit of a difference between a entrepreneur and the person running the business, right?
Run the business.
Yeah, I'm running a business, and I'm trying to get more into being the entrepreneur, where I've got all the people involved in the spaces that they're running the business, and I can just sit back now and probably look into something else to invest and spend my time in.
Right.
And that's the goal. That's where and that's my challenge. That's my biggest challenge right now. And funny enough, it turns out that this is also a people problem, right?
Yeah.
You hire someone, you think they're the right person, they are not. And so now you got to figure out, you got to try to figure out how to be fair, right? Like, like the person might be doing or can do X, Y, and Z. You're hoping that they can do something else, but they can't quite get there. And now you got to sit down and think, oh man, it's literally evaluating human potential, right? Can
Yeah.
you grow into this space? And it's
And are you willing to stay? I mean, I feel like this generation
ooh,
leaps. Like you can't. This is a different time to run a business with people. People like as soon as they find another opportunity, they're gone. I don't feel like anybody is
uh,
has staying power since COVID. It's like
since COVID's got so much worse. Yeah,
the
absolutely.
turnover is crazy. I
Yeah.
see it in my own field of work. I'm just seeing people come in 2 years, they're gone. They get another opportunity, they're out. I've been in my job 15 years.
Two
And I and
years.
I could easily go any places. So it's just wow, it must be difficult.
I've seen people turn around in 6 weeks, 6 months.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable right now. So
Yeah.
it makes it very, very challenging. So there are people. It's turning around now. The Feds have been raising interest rates, and no one likes. But what has been happening is tightening up everything, and
And
so
people are
now jobs are becoming a little bit more scarce. Not terrible, a little bit more scarce, and so people are thinking twice before making a move now.
jumping.
And so what has been
Yep.
happening is
Yep.
that there have been a ton of people working in positions that they have no business being in, and everyone has been kind of suffering. So I'm hoping that we're making a little bit of a turn now. I'm hoping.
Right, right. But so what I'm hearing is the challenges that you face is identifying the
Yeah,
right people. And you've had that kind of challenge back in schools. Like,
yes,
can I work the room where I know who is the right person?
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a awesome challenge to have. And that's a soft skill,
It
you
is.
guys. That's not something that us nerdy folk, we could be real smart, have all the A grades, but this right here to be empowered because I was thinking about you and I was thinking about the top 3 billionaires, African American billionaires, the richest billion African Americans in the country. Two of them are all 3 of them are CEOs.
Hmm.
So if you want to really maximize your wealth, you're going to have to run your own thing. That's the reality.
Gotta,
Oprah Winfrey,
gotta.
Robert Davis, and the second person, and 2 of them are tech people. They're STEM people. The second richest man in the world is something that's is like worldwide technology. He runs a technology company just like you.
Mhm.
So like it's I really believe the way to wealth and to bring our people out of poverty, a combination of STEM and business. If more of us could do what you do, Herb, and even though it's difficult, I think we could help our community.
We
You
could.
know?
I think so. It's important. This is very important. Um, STEM is one of those things, though. Like I said, I'll always go back to passion and
Yeah, you gotta love it.
aptitude, right? I mean, this may not be the path you are born for, but if we could recognize that, like I I just mentioned, I have one daughter that's graduated, and now I have an 8-year-old as well. And that little girl, man, we would drive in the car and we are talking math the entire trip. She would see a number and she would say, if I were to subtract maybe 8 from that, and then I could divide it by, and she's just doing math
Math in them all the time.
all the time. And so you recognize that your children are kind of interested in stuff like this. Now it's
Foster
just
it.
about what's the next opportunity? Where can I expose her? What can I do? Where can I drop her in to kind of really encourage this? Because my older daughter could care less. All she care about is she wants art. She wants art. So then I'm doing art with her, and we're not spending a lot of time. I'm doing the best I can to kind of introduce her to STEM topics, but she's just the interest is in there, the passion is in there. So
And that's fine.
she's on a different trail. Yeah.
That's fine. My dad tried my hardest to try to make me play the piano, and I just would not. No, I did not. I did not want to practice, and I don't know how to play the piano to this day. I like to hear music, but I can't do music from at all. But he didn't force me, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that. But yeah, foster it in your children. Whatever, if you see it, foster it. That's so true. That's so true. Okay, so lastly, what's the favorite part of your career?
Man, they got a lot of different parts to it that I like.
Mhm.
I love the creative aspect of it, right? I absolutely love that. I love starting the day with nothing and ending with something that someone can push and pull levers and it's working,
And you
right?
get it to work.
Yeah,
And
I,
it,
I, I absolutely love that. I am by nature a servant. I've come to grips with that. So serving people it's what I do, and this is one of the ways that I can actually serve people because you don't think of you don't think of it often as how underwater people are, right? When you're doing your business and people are absolutely underwater, or you live in your life and people are just drowning by circumstances that
problems.
problems. That's
Yeah.
so. For example, we have a friend, right, who travels. Her mother, she's from Madagascar. Haven't met a lot of people from Madagascar. She's from Madagascar. Her mother comes to visit her. Her mother only speaks Madagascar, and so she cannot communicate with her son-in-law. She cannot communicate with anybody in the church. And if she's struggling, my wife walks up to her and she holds up Google Translate.
Google Translate. That's the first thing I thought. Yeah.
She's into it, and the woman lights up. Is like, where has this been my entire time, right? And so you don't think of it as this is as technologists we think of it. This is cool. This is cool. I could translate something, and not realizing you might be saving people's relationship. Yeah,
Relationships.
saving people's it is amazing, and that is why we call it an application, right? Because there's so many applications to whatever we do. We build something and people apply it in different ways, and then you sit back and like, I would have never thought to use that in that particular way, and that's fascinating. I do enjoy that part of it.
And so, Herb, you don't know how much I wish that we could use these things to empower relationships. We have all of these technologies
All of
at
it.
our grasp. We do. At schools, at home, at church. We have multiple applications, multiple ways that we can really solve problems. And we watch these things get dusty.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't utilize them. And
Hmm.
it's like, but like you said, people are drowning.
They're drowning.
And there's
Absolutely.
technologies out there. There's applications out there currently and yet to be created in some little black boy's mind.
Hmm.
You understand? We have to cultivate it. We got to create it as people. We got to consuming is great. You know, like you said, me you going to the store and checking myself out because somebody created a system that I could check myself out quickly in, so I could get to be with my family much faster. I want us to stop being the people just checking out.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It's time that we start creating products, and because that's gonna have to come from a business mind. It's gonna come from people getting outside of the box and not just working.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
time that we start building our own tables.
Absolutely. And the people are involved in a lot of the problems right now. And I think if I love that if we can make a leap to like, how do I solve this? Right?
Solve the problem.
Let's solve, like I said, I'm from the Caribbean, right? And a big issue is just sending money island to island, right? I want to send a couple bucks to my mom, to my sister, but I want to, and so we have technologies now, digital currencies. We have Cash App. We have all these different ways. And so if someone's out there, it's like, man, we got this organization that needs funding. We got people I got to send money to. The solution is right. What we're doing is I am doing the best I can, and we
Yeah.
got really settled in doing the best I can, rather than there
Versus,
is a we can do better, and there's a solution to this. And once
yes.
you think
Yes.
that there's a solution to it, oh man, I don't want to go on a tangent because
Go ahead.
a lot of the people who are wealthy and doing these things know absolutely nothing about the technology underneath it. They know absolutely nothing. They just say, I could solve that. And they'll come to me like, I want to solve this. Can you think of a way to build an application to solve that? And they pay me and I do it for them. They could run off with it, and now they could use it in ways that could just make them millions of dollars, right? Just solving a problem. So
Yeah.
um,
Wow.
we're involved in the problems. We see the problems every day, and we see the how to take care of the homeless, how to fund things, how to feed. We see the problems every day, and there is an app waiting to be built for that.
Waiting to be built for that.
Waiting to be built.
And but go to school, go to boot camps, go to get your certification. Let's start educating ourselves so that we can solve the problem. We can
Yeah.
see the problem, but until we educate ourselves in the skill set and be passionate about it, we won't be able to. So there's a dynamic. See the problem, educate yourself in the structure to help solve the problem. I hope that this interview has really helped you. It's really helped me. It's really given me some passion. Herb. I really appreciate
Oh, no problem.
you coming on. I am the phenomenal STEMist, and so is he. Thanks again, Herb.
No problem.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.